Getting 2 million or more pops in a chimps game with a single tower grants you the 2 Megapops achievement. And today we're going to be doing this with the artillery battery mortar, which I would say out of these 3 are definitely the easiest one. Don't try and do shattering shells, by the way. Sometimes doing a sub start can be a little bit boring, so that's why I purposely picked a map that doesn't have any water on it by default. Engineer dart start. Place your engineer on strong so that it can always target the strongest, most balloons that is within its range, so that hopefully the dart monkey will be able to clear up the red balloons at the very end there. There may be some instances where a bit of micro is required in order to actually get through these scenarios, so sometimes it's not always wise to go to strong when the balloons are about to escape the map. But I think in this case, we might be able to... yeah, we'll pull through. We'll definitely pull through. Get some larger surface area so that you're able to hit a bit further away, and in some cases you can actually get the nail gun to point down here and be able to damage a balloon that is over here otherwise. And this is where our strategy starts to unfold. As well, we're going to encounter a lot of balloons which may escape, but with a little bit of micro we have done justice, hopefully. Round 10. This is a nice round because it's just blue balloons. I'll place the engineer on last because it can occasionally damage a balloon over here, so sometimes we can make balloons which are further back on the map in which we could actually, well, target them, be able to be slowed down. So go back to strong now since the majority of the balloons are over here, and we should be able to get through the rest of this scenario. And go to first, please. Good, good, good. Now we can place down Jones. Jones only exists as mortar support and nothing else. We're not using him for pops mainly at all. We're going to use his concussive shells sometimes, but that's only in the early game. Going to be very interesting. Our first encounter with yellow balloons. Is this going to go well? Oh, goody gosh. Okay, let's put you back to first. Even though the green balloons possess a threat, we may be able to get through this. Yeah, I think we've definitely got this in the bag here. Just holding on those blue balloons. With combined might of dart and NG, we can do this. Round 13, oh great. Yeah, it's definitely the early game which is going to give us the most amount of trouble here. And we go through this scenario without needing to restart the round. The green balloons at the end, that could be a little troublesome. Come on, dart monkey, please pop them. Don't focus on the backmost ones, please. You got ones in front of you which are a bit more of a threat. They're making their way to the exit. We're literally on the rope. What do we call it? The rope wire? The tightrope. There we go. Believe it or not, this round is going to be a little bit easier because there's spawning by color in this case. So, but then again, we've got the second lot of yellows to deal with, so that's no good. So let's use the concussive shells to just break the mold there a little bit and be able to clear off some of that piercing which we desperately, well, we are actually lacking pierce here. Turned off auto start because we're going to summon our mortar now, and even though we've got our tower of choice down aside from its upgrades, this is definitely far from over. We are still within the part of the game which is the most struggling, the early stages, and these yellow balloons are going to be a little bit of an issue here, but my main focus is the pink balloons, honestly. And we might need to use a concussive shell at some point in order to try and just whittle down the amount of pierce required. And that's all of the pink balloons popped. Excellent. The early game, the amount of steals that you get is not a huge amount of issue. Obviously, it still is an issue, but we don't need to worry about it a huge amount. There's not a lot of pops between rounds at 1 and 40, to say the least. Got faster reload so that we can fire just a little bit more often, and definitely when it comes to these regrow balloons, it's going to be a big issue if we do not do enough damage against them. Otherwise, I'll just go back to being a yellow balloon again. And if you know my channel very well, you know how much luck we have with yellow balloons, just in general. We need to race down to cleansing foam as soon as possible, otherwise we're going to have nothing for round 24 to decamify the camo balloon on that round there. And it's actually going to be our means to be able to deal with camo balloons in the early stages of the game. Obviously we will get a radar scanner, but we just don't have the monetary means in order to do that. So cleansing foam is our next best bet. Usually we get submerged support, but we don't have submarine access on this map. Yeah, this is not looking like a very good attempt on this round, to be honest. I'm barely landing my shots here because I keep needing to move my cursor. But when I do, it's not in a great spot at all. And we've just about managed to do the round, just about, with a scrape of our teeth there. So, yeah, just under 160 until we can actually get the cleansing foam. And obviously, this is going to be an issue here. The black balloons, we're not yet able to pop them with our mortar because Jones is not yet at level 5, and I don't want to spend that money just to level him up. He will get to level 20 eventually. The big word there is eventually. And they're getting through. Let's try and time this. Yes, we affected 2 black balloons here because the ability is not affected by its default damage type. So concussive shells can pop black balloons even though by default it can't actually do that at all because it's explosive attack. We can now afford cleansing foam, and we're going to put this over here actually, even though there's an obstacle here. Cleansing foam defies science, just like the alchemist defies science. Try and clear up the rest of this round. Oh, come on, Dark Monkey, why'd you aim over there? I reckon we could get cleansing foam by round 24, so rapid reload or bigger? Nah, we'll play it safe. Riskier but safer. 2 words that never really go into a sentence. It's just the sheer quantity of pink balloons on this round that makes it annoying at times. But I think we've got it in the bag. Micro is definitely a huge factor when it comes to mortars, especially early game, because of the sheer factor that, well, you can't really get far with your mortar if you keep it in one spot. Can we? Oh, come on, Dark Monkey. Sometimes it just feels like you just don't fire whatsoever. Can we do it, please? Don't want to go through that experience again. Rapid reload is finally... I feel like I was really unlucky there with those first few shells there because none of them did any damage to black balloons. Yeah, placing the engineer on first from this point onwards is highly advised because it kept transforming white balloons into pink balloons. And then we had a movement speed issue going on here. Let's get Bigger Blast up and running. We can partially circumvent our black balloon issue with Striker Jones's presence. But we, as a collective, decided that having a bigger blast radius is better than a faster fire rate and the ability to actually do the bonus damage against fortified, what is it? Ceramics, leads, all fortifieds, and all stunned balloons. Neat. Can also pop black balloons by default. Changes damage type to normal, which is the best damage type ever because it means a attack has no weaknesses. Balloon Buster, which means we can now smash through 3 layers with each shell rather than just 2, which is actually probably one of the biggest buffs that the mortar has ever been given. Just its base damage increasing from 1 to 2 from spawn. Lead balloons, no issues whatsoever. What about the next round? We've got heavy shells, so I believe the most difficult part of this challenge is now done. The first, like, 25 rounds or so in a CHIMPS game. Even though we're still technically in the 24th round. Well, the 25th round, you know what I mean? The first 20 to 25 rounds is most difficult of an artillery battery. Just setting yourself up. Speaking of setting up, we are now going to get ourselves our radar scanner up and running so that we can pop camo balloons by default. Cleansing foam will decamify the balloons and the heavy shells and NG will deal with the rest. Rainbow balloons, and going down to pink balloons is not the most ideal one to have because of how fast they go, as you probably already know. Radar scanner up and running, which means these regrow camo greens will not go anywheres at all past this little part of the hedges. At level 7, Striker Jones can increase the fire rate of all Mortar Monkeys on screen. Also bomb shooters, but that's not important here, by 10%. Level 5 is now redundant because of heavy shells, but this is very important. Increases the Mortar Monkeys' blast radius by 10%. Even with like the biggest one, that's still a big boost. Let's go to Jungle Drums, and we're now going to buff our wonderful, at the moment, heavy shells mortar here with an alchemist, hoping to get Berserker Brew, before round 40. What I was meant to say is that the 10% increase in blast radius is less important on the biggest one because it already has such a huge blast radius. But I think any amount when it comes to like heavy shells or blue incineration, that 10% might be the saving grace for your run right there. So we now got a MOAB to deal with, and honestly I think this is the most difficult MOAB out of all of them because we're still only at heavy shells rather than a wonderful artillery battery in which we are destined to be. Stronger stimulation so that our buffs from the alchemists are even better, and also because of the fact that, well, since we're going middle path mortar, the buffs will not be as applied as much as, let's say, if we're top path mortar or bottom path mortar. Fire rate is really important when it comes to the alchemist buffs because, well, if you fire faster like a super monkey, you're barely able to retain these buffs. On round 45, we can acquire our artillery battery, but because we have our tower in the title of the video, doesn't mean we're necessarily done with our setup. In fact, we are far from it. See this engineer we plopped down on round 6 in order to help us out with the initial rounds? Well, we're going to turn this into our overclock engineer. Pretty convenient, isn't it? It's both offense and support. And faster throwing just so that we can buff the mortar here just a little bit more often. With the ability active, we should be able to shred this gosh, it even make it round to the third bend. 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's the third bend, alright. But the second one will be a lot more difficult. We don't have the increased fire rate and explosive radius? Question? Yeah, slightly wider area. Dearie me. Even with my many hours of playing this game, there are still things that I don't know. And thanks to every patch notes containing minor or major changes to how a tower operates, sometimes your knowledge gets completely flipped on its head depending on what changes and what it instills to that. So let's say top path mortar used to be able to damage every single kind of balloon, but in update 41 they changed it so that it has the explosive damage type rather than the normal one in which the big one and the biggest one used to have. So you gotta think, okay, so I need something else to support that tower in order for it to actually get the majority of the positive 2 megapops to be achievement that you're looking for. But then you would probably look elsewhere because of a sheer factor that, well, mortars are not exactly the most beginner friendly towers to to do effectively with, just because of this microing aspect. With overclock active, we can just basically remain the cursor where it is and it will take care of MOABs. Like fortified MOABs will be a different story, but for now, up until around 60, well then again we'll just we'll just absolutely nuke it with both overclock and the artillery battery's ability. MOAB will grant us nothing since we have heavy shells, but call to arms, that's definitely going to be the reason why 240 is very viable for a 2 megapop scenario. 50% increase in attack speed and pierce per attack. That's brilliant. So combining the ability of the artillery battery and overclock in play, and we have, as you just seen there, some resounding success. Can we get the ability back by the time the fortified MOAB spawn? And the answer is going to be a yes. Let's wait for the second. Well, wait for the second one there. I have no time to wait. The ability must be used. Okay, round 63. Huge amounts of ceramics and just chewed through all of them, sorry. A really bad trait that I have in a lot of videos that I do is that I do tend to ramble about stuff that is like completely unnecessary to either an interesting topic or at hand what I'm doing right now. So that's actually going to be the point of discussion in this video, and that is rambling about stuff that is unnecessary in a situation like this that either doesn't provide help for getting a 2 megapops for yourself, or just something interesting for you to listen to while you are just watching the video in general, just listening out to what I have to say here. But it's just something that I have sometimes, and people do tend to point it out, which I acknowledge, but sometimes it's like I don't know how to switch that bad trait of mine off when it comes to the thick of it. Like, I'm speaking right now and it's like sometimes I forget what I've already said as well. Like people say like you tend to repeat yourself a lot, and you tend to say stuff unnecessarily because it just does not fit the format of the video itself, and you should not be doing that sort of thing. Which I do tend to get also like. Sometimes a point in conversation can lead towards something that can be quite undesirable. But I think at times it can be a healthy aspect to talk about stuff because it helps you offload. Like, sometimes when it comes to the mid-game of this sort of stuff, it's kind of like that comfortable stage where I'm kind of set up, but I'm still not out of the woodworks because there's also the 80s and 90s to worry about. But with this kind of setup going on, also got call to arms now, I don't have to feel as worried about microing the mortar because there's only really two spots in which I have it at a given point in time now, up until like the 80s and 90s. This spot here and this spot down here. Because of how the map works, it doesn't block a blast radius of a mortar just simply because we put it on a spot that would normally block line of sight. Combine call to arms and overclock and the artillery battery ability. Gosh. That's just a small taste of pop and all, but obviously we're not getting that because we've already done that to Megapops twice. One in a no harvest scenario and one just normally for like that particular scenario. Clearing round 75, and believe it or not, round 76 is not going to be a struggle whatsoever. Call to arms is all we need, really. And as you just saw there, the absolute annihilation of all of those regrow ceramics. What about round 78? More ceramics, but they don't regrow. Oh, I just saw my worst nightmare there. Yellow balloons that might have escaped. Now with this BFB, let's try combine the BFB and the ceramics together so that we don't have to try and alternate when it comes to our ability usage. We just do a 2-in-1 sort of thing. So let's use them now, and then let's aim the cursor back over here, and the ceramics should be dealt with very easily, just like that. Our next goal now is to get the absolute zero up and running, because both the permafrost aspect of the top path, we get cold snap because we can actually affect DDTs that way, and the actual slowage of the balloons themselves while they're frozen is going to be an incredibly important aspect. Very little damage with huge amounts of benefits towards our 2 Megapops intending tower. Last fortified BFB now down to fortified MOABs, and because of that we do bonus damage against ceramics and fortifieds, those fortified ceramics were very easy. So we are still 3k away from absolute zero, but this CMG is going to get, well, it's actually going to withstand our attacks quite well actually, if, as you can probably tell. Right now, we're doing a lot of damage, but it's not enough damage to be able to clear the ZMG, which could be a problem later on. But we don't have all of us, well, we don't have any slowdowns actually, aside from the snowstorm obviously, but it's like, this is all done offensively, but without any slowdown support so far. Like artillery battery, if you're looking for a tier 4 tower and you can actually tolerate microing a little bit, I would say this is one of the easier towers to try and get for a tier 4. Obviously, like, there's lots of tier 5s out there which are more desirable, easier, and you do not require a single click of a button because of their self-reliance. Here we now got absolute zero at our disposal, and if you combine all of the abilities together to have as much fire rate as possible, just the absolute annihilation of these balloons is just it's just imminent. Like, there's no other word I can call it. It's just imminent. Here we go. Repeated information again. Because I forget what I've already said, okay? That was past me. This is now present me. But then future me will be present me. And past me will always be history me. Wipe out the fortified BFBs, hopefully. Yeah, these fortified super ceramics are a different ballgame when it comes to the regular ones, just because they take that many more hits to try and take down. Okay, next up is going to be a few balloon sabos to try and slow down balloons outside of abilities, and also it's a non-lethal way of slowing down balloons alongside towers like blue gunners, but we'll get to that later. It's very important to have the overclock aspect active at all times, otherwise the super fortified ceramics will just pummel their way through and only leave you with a red balloon left. Unless, of course, the alchemist wants to be applied to the wonderful artillery battery. But like I said earlier, the fire rate does dictate how effective or how long the buffs are applied, which is obviously, as you can see, but not very long. Round 85. Just like round 80, but with 2 ZMGs and the fact that the ceramic spawn out of it are super rather than regular. But we do have absolute zero at our disposal here, which is nice. Take them down to BFBs, use absolute zero while all of them are BFBs. It's kind of important in a way to try and get it so that the absolute zero applies to as many freshly spawned down balloons as possible when it comes to deranking them. Otherwise, just like with Balloon Sabo and its quote-unquote global ability, it doesn't apply the permafrost to all of its underlings, or not at all really. Like once it goes down to ceramic and popping layers, it can apply to it, but while it's in its bigger incarnations, it cannot do that. Nearly there for getting our third Balloon Sabo down. Soon we'll have the means to be able to have a 100% uptime on the Balloon Sabo ability, because of the fact we get 4 of them, and they all kind of have a 25% uptime when it comes to their ability to cooldown ratio. All of them, all 4 ZMGs are now BFBs, or oh no, now nothing. Oh gosh. Even that was like on normal speed, not fast forward speed. The power of artillery battery is very nice. One of these days you will downgrade ZMGs. One of these days, you will make me a happy man. Then go down to MOABs at some point. Use Balloon Sabo once you are all down. Use absolute zero. Obviously, there's some kind of pierce cap there, despite the fact that mortars naturally have a high pierce cap. And we are, well, we're 12 rounds away from victory. Almost forgot we had something called money in the game. Let us get ourselves our third Balloon Sabo. Let's put down another Ninja Monkey and, okay, let's get the 4th one. We're 40 points afloat here. 40 muns afloat. Something along those lines, okay? So let's just use the Sabo for the moment. DDTs abound. So let's see, let's just absolute zero. Balloon Sabo and Overclock. Nothing else at this given point in time. As you can tell, the artillery battery, thanks to the heavy shells aspect, does very well against DDTs. We are having a little bit of a fortified super ceramic issue here, but we do have our abilities at our disposal here to help us out. Just like the ones in which we're going to cast in order to increase our fire rate. As of what? Look at all that damage, and we're playing on slow speed. And there goes those down. Although, it kind of leaves me in a bit of an icky situation because of round 92. But we do have Balloon Sabo and absolute zero as means of movement speed support. Use your Balloon Sabo and absolute zero to control the speed of the balloons. And then once we have our abilities back that will enable us to attack faster, we will use them to help us damage and destroy all of these. Oh gosh, look at all these fortified MOABs. Like, sometimes round 92 can be very horrible because of the sheer amount of strength that each of these fortified MOABs have. And then, plus the fact that there's a lot of them, and then there's the fact there's fortified super ceramics inside them, it just makes them a bit of a menace, don't you think? Oh, they're getting very far into them. My micro was not as good as it should be. Apologies to all of those out there that expect perfection of me, even though there's no such thing as that, but people, because of their lazy state, think that I am some kind of, well, perfect being because of the fact that I'm expected to be there, even though I'm far from it, and nobody is that. We'll get our radar scanner up and running, which means the glue gunners over here will be able to, you know, by default be able to attack attach themselves to DDTs.
Target that BFB. Target
DDTs.
That BFB.
Let's see, let's just annihilate them. They're just going to be completely whitewashed off the map. Thousands of balloons or one boomer boy. Who is going to win this battle? And the connotation of Boomer Boy could be taken away in a lot of different ways, so just ignore the fact that I even mentioned that word. Thank you very much. MOAB glue. Then we'll get some glue splatter so that we can affect more than just 2 MOABs at a time here. And there goes round 94. Don't need to worry about absolute 0 until, well, a fair bit later on round the second part of round 95 emerges here, which I forgot to place the cursor over here before round 95 started. So that's a good weakness of mine that I always tend to forget, is to reset my mortar position, which is why I have auto start off, so that I can just aim between over here or over here whenever I need to at the end of a round, and I don't need to worry. Okay, let's just use these abilities. Let's use it quite early on. Okay, all bomb shooters and mortar monkeys attack an additional 10% faster. This level 19 ability here for the wonderful artillery battery is, well, it's not needed because of heavy shells, and we have MIB obviously, but it's still a very important trait to have if you don't want to use MIB and you want your explosives to be able to actually damage black property balloons, like these DETs for example. So we'll be able to go through this round very swimmingly without a worry whatsoever. Sometimes it is a bit of a grind fest to try and actually get through this round, but because of the sheer rate of fire and, quite frankly, power per shell, we're able actually to do this, which is pretty nice. This glue gun is going to go up to glue strike, and then with the rest of our money, we're going to settle with a 140 spike storm in order to help us out against the bad. And there goes round 96. Yes, of course. My nightmares keep coming back to me in the form of yellow balloons. What is it with them? Why do they keep surviving? Why do they not be pinks, which are arguably more annoying because of their heightened movement speed, but still, god damn it, yellow balloons. Right, glue strike, and then we're going to put down a wonderful spike storm eventually. Round 97. What can we do on this round? Well, we can do a heck of a lot. We just need to get our abilities up and running. Thank you very much. Let's use all of those. Use glue strike so that each shell does 2 additional damage per shell. I hate the fact that glue strike overrides our ability to use bottom path glue gunner. Thank you, Ninja Kiwi, for adding in that little bit of an effect in which not all glues can stack sometimes. Why is it only sometimes and not either never or yes? Down to BFBs. Soon. MOABs. Come on, little MOABs, you can spawn out. Relentless glues doing its work by temporarily stunning them absolute 0, holding all these huge behemoths in place. And they won't be able to get through. Not a single one of them. Okay, now round 98. What are we like with our abilities? We're very good actually. We've got the artillery battery ready. Quarter arms is almost ready. Striker Jones is nearly ready. Shall we? Nah, we'll save artillery command for round 100 actually. So here we go, round 98, the beefiest round in the entire game of Chimps outside of free play mode. Oh, we're still in free play mode, obviously. We are in a way. Okay, let's put all of that together and just so much damage involved. Thank you. I will take all of that damage and I shall harness it for my future endeavors. Well, mainly in this video, but you know what I mean. Glue strike nowadays making things very, very easy when it comes to damage amplifiers because it doesn't require the corrosive glue for it to stick to MOABs. Lovely quality of life change, Ninja Kiwi, even though it wasn't too recent, it still feels recent enough to feel welcoming. Okay, we're down from ZMG to just BFBs. Oh, maybe I've done that round a little bit too soon. Let's hold off for just a tad bit here. Just a little bit. Let's use that. Let's take them all the way down to ceramics, please. Come on. Go down to ceramics. Okay, there's ceramics. And now they're slowed down. So now I don't need to tend to worry so much. I can just get my abilities back. used for used for Sabo. This is mainly in preparation for round 100. That's all it is, really. Preparation for round 100. And there we go. Striker Jones is now level 20. When we use this ability, not only do we get double damage per shell, but we can reset the cooldown on our artillery battery ability. So use that first, then that, then use that again. So DDTs, bit of a pain. I used the ability too soon in the round here. Yeah, I'm going to retry this round. Okay, let's try this round again, please. This time affecting all the DDTs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they're all on now. I just want the absolute zero to be around when this is a thing. And once again, not all of the DDTs are stuck by the relentless glue gunner. But we're doing the damage. We are definitely doing the damage. I want to save up all of these abilities around 100 if possible. Okay, use Balloon Sabo again. Hopefully the foam did a little bit of thing there with the oh, for goodness sakes. Yellow balloon again. You will never ever escape me, will you now? Someone in the comments was like, I didn't understand why you hated the yellow balloon so much, but after watching your videos, they're like, I kind of understand your point. Yellow balloons are the worst. Well, probably not the worst. Okay, so where are we at with this?
Target that big huge one.
So let's just use Blue Strike first, Call to Arms, Blue Storm, use that ability, then that ability, and then once we get this ability back up and running, we will use it again, like that. Yeah, so much damage. So much damage to the blade. Let's see now. Where are we at? 8,400. That's quite a lot of damage going on there. That's a lot of damage. Let's use Glue Strike, Glue Storm, and then Call to Arms. Not a huge amount of damage, but it will be enough to get us through the finish line. Hopefully. Hopefully. Come on now, Badge. You know you can... Oh gosh, I kind of panicked there. I'm glad the Relentless Glue actually went all the way over here, because you're now struck with that. Let's do that ability again. Yep, the DTs are now quashed. Crushed. Absolutely squashed out of existence there. Artillery command again. And yeah, the rest of it's just going to be easy. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been the 2 Megapops 2 Artillery Battery. As we go through the final stages of this round. Oh, glad to see that you reached all the way over there. Lovely. So let us do that, and just use absolute zero once I go down to MOABs. There we go. And I kind of cast around just a little bit too soon there, and used Balloon Sabo for the end there, and we have reached our goal of 2,025,000 pops. Obviously, you could have done this better, but this was my strategy in doing it. And I think that I have done pretty well in this scenario, despite the fact this video took me an hour to record. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comment sections below. And if you're not done so already, please be sure to click that subscribe button to see more videos like this in the future. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comment section below, just like I've already said so. And if you are extra generous, then please by all means use my creator support code here when you purchase anything from the store, and in update 42 if you were to ever use the accolades for me, then I'll be incredibly grateful. You don't have to, but I'll be incredibly grateful. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, everybody.